All right, welcome to episode 103 of Sports Hype. A lot to get through today. A lot of big news in the NFL along with the NBA. To start, we'll touch on the Dolphins signing Odell Beckham Jr. to a 1 year, $8.25 million deal. Give our thoughts on that. We don't know the thoughts of our co host, Nick Saya. So if you guys have any thoughts about what he thinks about it, you can put it in the comments at the end of the video. DJ Chark also signed a 1 year, $5 million deal with the Chargers. We'll give our thoughts on that, along with the Bills signing Chase Claypool. To get to the NBA, the Lakers finally, in my opinion, fired Darvin Ham and all of his assistants, including Phil Handy. Not a fan of the Phil Handy being let go, but I'll give the rest of my thought process on that in the video. The Suns also fired Frank Vogel after one season, so we'll give our thoughts on if we think this is the right moves and who both teams should hire. Jason Kidd signed a multi-year extension with the Dallas Mavericks. We'll give our thoughts on that. Celtics assistant Charles Lee agreed on a 4 year deal to become the Hornets' next head coach. So we'll give our thoughts on that. And then Victor Wembanyama, obviously won Rookie of the Year. That was by a landslide and should have happened. The controversial ones were Defensive Player of the Year, which Rudy Gobert won, and Nikola Jokic winning the MVP once again. So we'll give our thoughts on that and who we think should have won if it wasn't the ones who did win. And then to wrap it up, we'll say what's next for the Philadelphia 76ers, Los Angeles Clippers, and the Orlando Magic after their respective first round playoff exits. So as I said, to start, we'll give our thoughts on the Dolphins signing Odell Beckham Jr. So, what's your thoughts on that, Gio?
Yeah, so OBJ, great signing for them, especially on the offensive side. They already have Jalen Waddle, they have Tyreek Hill. Everyone knows that they have those two guys, top five receivers in the league. You add OBJ not only as an offensive weapon presence, but as a champion and person that understands how to win a championship, just like Jalen Ramsey. Right now, you have one guy on the offensive side and one guy on the defensive side that understands that can be a great leader in that respective setting. So hopefully, this can not just push them past that wall, right, going into the playoffs, but propel them into that championship mindset and hopefully win that Super Bowl that they so desperately want, right? So
Yeah, for sure. Performance wise, I don't think it's going to do much for them because he has regressed, obviously,
right.
since those injuries that he has sustained. But I think they did do it for a leadership perspective. But for me personally, I think he's going to get a little bit upset when he doesn't get the ball as much as he wants. I think it's going to be like a Stephon Diggs Buffalo Bills situation where he expects the ball a lot more than he's going to get the ball, especially with Tyreek Hill there and Jalen Waddle there. I hope I'm wrong because he can bring a lot of leadership to that team, like you said.
I think he'll be fine. One, last year with the Ravens, he was the third option on that team. He didn't put up any numbers what we expected him to put up. Yeah, he had some great games here and there, but it wasn't consistent on a consistent basis. Two, on the Rams, he wasn't the first option. He was the secondary option. Yes, he performed in the Super Bowl, but he didn't do anything really in the regular season. So looking at that perspective, I think he has learned. He understands his role, and I think he'll be fine with it. I just hope that, like you said, OBJ has been associated with drama in the locker room, right? Being that dramatic type of player, especially on the Giants, right? He had every allegation in the book against him. Then you also go to Baltimore. He had that whole issue, right? So realistically, and obviously Cleveland. Don't forget about Cleveland, right? But but realistically, I do believe that he understands his role now, and he really just wants to win another Super Bowl and be part of a winning team.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the main reason why he went to the Dolphins was solely because that outside of the Chiefs, they have the best chance of winning the Super Bowl in the AFC. Um, Arguably, there's a lot of teams in the AFC that can win one, but in his opinion, obviously, with him going to the Dolphins, he thinks the Dolphins are close, and he thinks he can get him over the hump. And I think that
Right.
if he does use his position correct, that could be the case. If he is the type of player he was on Baltimore, which got them to the AFC Championship and very close to the Super Bowl, then he could be that type of player for the Dolphins, and that was the type of player that they were missing last year when Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle weren't performing the way that they expected them to. They didn't have a third receiver they could go to. Now they do in Odell.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but I think overall it's a good signing for the Dolphins, and hopefully, as Gio said, it pushes them over the hump in the playoffs, most importantly.
Mhm.
But moving on to another wide receiver, or DJ Chark signing a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Chargers. So what's your thoughts on that?
So I mean, realistically, good for them signing a receiver. He's not a make or
Yeah.
break type of player, in my opinion, that will propel them into a playoff spot, especially in that AFC West when you have obviously the defending champion, two-time defending champion, back-to-back champion in the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the Raiders and Gardner Minshew, right? And then you always have the Broncos, where yes, no one expects the Broncos to do anything. But these are the types of teams, like the Houston Texans, right? Like the Buccaneers last year, like possibly 2 years ago with the Lions, right? Just to make it, like a race to the playoffs, right? So I do believe Denver is going to mix things up, and the Chargers are going to be the one that has repercussions of it because they are possibly the worst team in the AFC West.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this does much for them outside of give Herbert a true weapon, which they hadn't done prior to this signing. Um, but it's not going to change their trajectory that much. I mean, I still expect them to only win around 8 to 9 games, and even then, I could see them only winning like 6 to 7 with the lack of weapons they have for Justin Herbert. I just,
Right.
I mean, it's a right move for them, but it's not going to do much for them either.
Right, exactly.
But another receiving needy team signed a receiver that won't do much for them, in my opinion, either. The Bills signed Chase Claypool. There wasn't any information that came out about the contract, but I do know it's a 1-year deal. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I made the joke to a lot of my friends. They're Bills fans, right? I'm in upstate New York still, right? So he will be the saving grace. No. Listen. Okay, right. Chase Claypool was projected to do great things in Pittsburgh. Got disgruntled. They dished him off to Chicago. Terrible offensive line. You can also say Justin Fields wasn't a great passing quarterback, right? Look at Chase Claypool in a new setting with a top 5 quarterback, possibly the number 1 option, right? You are going to see his numbers skyrocket this year. He still has good hands. He still has good footwork. He's in the NFL for a reason. Everyone's saying he's a bum. I think this move will shock people, and we're going to look back halfway through the season and say, wow, this was a great move by the Buffalo Bills, to where they might even be contenders in the AFC East, where you have Miami, you have the Jets, you have the Bills, right? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I could see your perspective on that, but I personally, I don't think he's a bum, but I don't think he's great either. Like I just don't think like he's gonna obviously his numbers will increase, but that's solely because, in my opinion, he'll be the second option behind Keon Coleman. But the main option for the Bills will be the run game, and I think he's gonna get disgruntled like he did in Chicago and in Pittsburgh solely because he's not gonna get the ball as much as he expects to get the ball, and that's just the way I think it's gonna happen.
I mean, yeah, that is definitely a possibility. But here's the thing: this is his last resort, right? Just like with Baker Mayfield, getting that, chance in Tampa, that was his last resort in the NFL, and he showed out. No one expected, Baker to do the things that he did, except for maybe I projected him to be good, right? I didn't project him to do things he did be worth $100 million, but I projected him to be good. Chase Claypool, on the other hand, has the exact same possibility to where this is his last resort. He has to, he has to produce in order to stay in the NFL, and I think he'll understand. He'll do exactly what he needs to do in order to stay in the NFL and play his role.
Yeah, I could see that. I do think it will be helpful for Josh Allen to have another big receiver like this because, as we know, Josh Allen likes to throw it deep. Keon
Mhm.
Coleman is a little short, so he won't be that
Yep,
deep threat, but Chase Claypool will be the deep threat, and he can go up and get that ball as well, which will really help both the Bills and Josh Allen. So it,
for sure.
I still expect them to only get around 9 to 10 wins, just because of how stacked that AFC is, not only their division but the entire AFC. But that might like this signing might be enough just by a little bit to push them into the playoffs, even if it's just the last seed.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see what happens there. But to move on to the NBA, both two coaches were fired this week. Lakers fired Darvin Ham and all of his assistants, cleaning a house of the coaching, and then the Phoenix Suns fired Frank Vogel. So, do you think both of these moves were right, or one of them were right? And then who do you think these teams should hire?
Yeah. So one being, let's start with Frank Vogel because that's an easy one. He's a defensive minded coach.
Right.
You look at the team, it is built purely based off of offense, where you have Devin
Mhm.
Booker, offense, Kevin Durant, obviously offense, Bradley Beal, offense. None of those three guys, I'm going to say it, is an elite defender, right? Because, yes, although Devin Booker prides and says he's a defender, he's not like a,
Kawhi Leonard.
honestly, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George type of player. He's not even Luka Doncic in the playoffs. What was it against the Clippers? They went 2 for 17 on him,
Yeah.
and like all three of their stars. So that was ridiculous. Anyways, he's not that type of player. Look at Frank Vogel. He's a defensive minded coach. So it really does not play out. It doesn't work out. They only hired him because he was the best coach available, not
Right.
because it was a great fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is more on the Suns front office than it is on Frank Vogel, similar to what happened with him with the Lakers. He became the scapegoat. I
Right.
think the front office needs to get more blame than Frank Vogel, and this is their way of hiding up their faults by firing him. And then they're going out and making Budenholzer another defensive coach. They want to make him the coach, but it's not going to matter if you don't get defensive minded players for a defensive minded coach. It's really that simple.
Right. 100%.
So I
Now,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to move to the Lakers side. Go ahead if you want to finish up with Frank.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think he got scapegoated once again, and I think it was the wrong move by the
100%.
Suns to fire him, especially after 1 year. Like I think it's solely because of what Kevin Durant said after the season, where he said I was relegated to the corner too much. Okay, that's fine, but how about you go and talk to the coach instead of saying at the end of the season?
I agree. I don't think that was, the right move by, Kevin Durant. The only thing though is he wasn't the right coach to be hired in the first place, right? So
Exactly.
firing him is the best option because yes, you say give him another shot, give him another year. Well, you would have to get rid of Devin Booker, you would have to get rid of Kevin Durant, you would have to get rid of Bradley Beal because those are the three guys that are using your entire cap space, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, but they're like I said, they're going out and hiring pretty much a Frank Vogel doppelganger and Mike Budenholzer. Yeah, he's not a terrible offensive mind. I'm not saying Frank Vogel's terrible either, but they're both the same type of coach offensively. Their main bread and butter is defense. So I just don't understand why they would go after another Frank Vogel pretty much.
Because I think, unlike Frank Vogel, I think Budenholzer understands how to coach towards a team strength. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks when he won a championship. You had PJ Tucker, you had Bobby Portis, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez, four elite defensive players, right? And then they
Yeah.
also offensively they adapted when teams went to the wall on Giannis. They understood how to play that system, right? With the shooters, with the outside guys, with a Drew Holiday and a Chris Middleton. So I think yes, um, Budenholzer is a defensive minded coach, but I think he understands how to play to the strengths of the offense.
Yeah, that's fair. But I also think the Suns aren't going to do anything as long as they have this type of roster construction. That's just the way I look at it.
All 100%. You look at the teams now. You look at Dallas Mavericks. You look at OKC, Denver Nuggets, a Minnesota Timberwolves. You have a 7, 8, maybe 9-man roster, right? That is in your rotation. With the Phoenix Suns, you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, right, and Yusuf Nurkic as your entire team.
Yeah. I mean, Grayson Allen here and there, Royce O'Neal here and there, but they're both very inconsistent. You're
You
going to
don't
need
have
consistent role players to win in the NBA. It's that simple.
you don't have like a Lively. You don't have obviously he's hurt, but Hardaway Jr. You don't have obviously a Kyrie Irving to help you. You don't have who else?
Nikhil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, or like an Alexander Walker on the T-Wolves, or Naz Reid, right? 6th man of the year.
Right.
The list goes on. Mike Conley, right? So you do need an 8 to 9-man rotation in order to be successful in the playoffs now, to where the role players, back in the day, you could have 2 star players and take over, right? You could do that.
Easily. I mean, we saw it in 2016 when the Cavs won against the Warriors. It was pretty much LeBron and Kyrie. It's not that era anymore, though.
How about the Lakers in 2010 when you had
Kobe and Paul.
Kobe and Paul, right? And then you had pretty much had no one else on the team. You went up against the Celtics. You went up against the Spurs. You went up against the Mavericks, and who else in that run, right? So you could use 2 guys. Now you have to have a 9-man rotation because of the Golden State Warriors. When you had a Barbosa, when you had a Sean Livingston, when you had a Maurice Bates, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Celtics right now, for example. Yes, they lost to the Cavs tonight, but on any given night, they have 9 to 10 players that can go off. And that's what makes them so dangerous.
25.
Yeah. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Like Derek White is the 4th, 5th option on that team, and he's averaging like 25 in the playoffs. Like, come on.
Yeah, 28 in the playoffs right now. Pritchard can give you 4 threes in a matter of seconds. You have Kristaps Porzingis when healthy. You have, obviously still Drew Holiday who can knock down shots, right? You have an Al Horford who can knock down shots. You have obviously the 2 main guys, $1 Million Man and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So
yeah, I mean, it's just the type of NBA that it's just the type of era that the NBA is in right now, and the Suns have to get on board with that before they can make noise moving forward, no matter who they hire.
Right.
But yeah, to go to the other side of the coin, obviously, as a Lakers fan, I'm very happy that Darvin Ham is finally gone.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what the media is saying, obviously they think it was the wrong choice, but I watched not all, but most of the 87 games of the season, including the playoffs. That's why I say 87. And I would watch this man, Darvin Ham, just look confused. He looked very confused, have his hands in his pocket. When the team would go on a 15-0 run, he wouldn't call timeout. Like, he just wasn't fit to be coaching the Lakers. Is he fit to be an NBA coach? Maybe, but definitely not for the Lakers. And I think that's the main reason why he was fired, is because that in LA, there's nothing else but a championship. That's their mindset. It's championship or bust, no matter who is on the roster. The roster wasn't great. That is true. But it could have been utilized a lot better than Darvin Ham did. And I think it could have been more successful if he utilized it correctly.
So I'm going to go back to a statement that I made when you guys hired him. He was an assistant coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. A first-time head coach, being LeBron James's coach, being an LA Lakers coach. The amount of pressure you have. It's like Steve Nash being the Brooklyn Nets coach, right? With Kevin Durant and Kyrie expecting to win a championship.
And then James Harden comes along too.
That too. But I'm saying, as a first-time head coach, play
first year,
under that pressure, along with the roster, which was trash. Honestly, get rid of. Yeah, I mean, when
this is my mind. This is my mindset. You get rid of everybody except LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Austin Reeves. The rest are all
No.
up for grabs.
This is what I say. Keep the team. Keep the team. Go ahead. Keep the team. One man that needs to go, and I'm sorry to say this, because he was a great agent. He's a a player's general manager, but Rob Pelinka needs to go. He has put together a 5-year stretch, pretty much. The roster constructed in 2020 when the Lakers won the championship. Don't give that to Rob Pelinka. You better give that to Magic Johnson, okay? That was Irvin Magic Johnson's team that won a championship. Rob Pelinka got that, franchise after that championship, and you saw the string of, rosters he put together. You couldn't even win a first round, game or first round series, let alone a championship with those, squads. And the only reason why you guys went to the, conference championship last year was because Anthony Davis balled out every other game, literally balled out, had like 40 and 30 pretty much. And then LeBron James played like prime LeBron James. And then obviously Austin Reeves carried in one of the series. D'Lo shot lights out in one of the 2 series.
Lonnie
So
Walker.
yes, you came to the conference finals with luck. But
right. And let's be honest. I'll be honest as a Lakers fan. Last year, we had a lot of luck. The play-in went our way. We matched up against a very young, inexperienced Memphis Grizzlies team. 1-6. All right. And then we matched up against the Golden State Warriors. They weren't that great that year. 1-6. And then you match up against one of, if not the best team in the West, in the Denver Nuggets, and you showed your true colors.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I just think, Darvin Ham isn't a terrible coach. Let's put it that way. It's just the Lakers shouldn't have been his first job, as it shouldn't be any coach's first job because of the pressure that they have. And going back to your point on Pelinka, yeah, I believe he does have to go, but will he go? No, because it goes back up to our owner who doesn't know how to own a team in Jeannie Buss. And I believe Rob has some information on Jeannie or something that is keeping him as GM, because if he didn't have something on Jeannie, then he would have been gone a long time ago as well.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, he is the one person that I do believe needs to go. Someone else in there would construct a roster that is a championship pedigree type of team.
I mean, if you win a championship, like, sorry to interrupt, but if you win a championship in 2020, and then you're like, oh yeah, so we won. Oh yeah, sure, we just break down the whole roster. That makes sense. Like, come on, bro. Why would you do that?
Yeah, that's why I say it was Magic Johnson's team, because he broke it down to what he thought was a championship type team.
And then trading for Russell Westbrook, you really thought that'd be a great fit? Like, LeBron James needs shooters. What is Westbrook? What is one thing Westbrook doesn't do? Shoot.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know, bro. Keep going though.
Yeah, so I just think that another general manager, whoever it is, could construct a team that could go to the playoffs. And this is wasting LeBron James' career. I do believe LeBron James could leave after this season, after his player op, he denies player option.
Yeah, but I think he's going to stay. He's come out and said that he wants to stay. He wants a 3-year, $130 million deal or something like that. He wants to stay in LA. I think he's going to stay, but is it the right choice for him? As a Lakers fan, I will come out and say no, solely because of the front office. They don't know what they are doing.
I will let you know, as a Cavs fan, I have heard him say, I'm staying, and then he leaves. Not once, but twice he's done this, okay? So,
well, I think he's strategically waiting to see who they hire as coach and what they do in the offseason. And then if he doesn't like it, he'll be like, all right, see you later.
100%. But here's the thing with me. When it's contract time with LeBron James, he is purely saying stuff until he signs on the dotted line. He's purely saying stuff just to keep people off his back. That is the only reason.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be mad if he leaves, if I'm going to be honest with you, because he deserves better than the front office. That's just the way I look at it. Like, he's trying to win, and we are doing what we did to Kobe Bryant on the back end of his career, ruining his legacy, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but firing Darvin Ham overall was the right choice, but it remains to be seen if it was the overall right choice because that will depend on who we hire. And if we hire another
Right.
first-time head coach, such as a JJ Redick, which is gaining steam, then that will show me that once again the front office did not learn from their mistakes.
100%.
There is one thing that I don't like though, and that's letting go of Phil Handy because he is a great player development coach, and I would like to see him back. I don't think he will come back, but I think that might come back to bite us during the season not having Phil Handy.
I think players had issues with Phil. Obviously, he's a great coach. He's a great players coach. But I don't see it, like you said, him coming back just because he had issues within the locker room with some of these players.
Yeah, I could see that. There was a lot of players did come out and speak on the coaching, mainly about Ham, but you don't know. Maybe they could have been talking about Phil Handy as well. And I think that is
100.
another reason why the Lakers are like, all right, we got to clean house. We need to keep our players happy, one,
Right.
and two, we got to win.
100%.
So, if we do go to the route of a first year head coach such as a JJ Redick, I hope that first year head coach doesn't make the same mistake Darvin Ham made and hire an experienced staff because that was another reason why Darvin Ham wasn't great because he didn't have an experienced staff with him to help him.
Right.
I wouldn't overall. I wouldn't mind JJ because as we've shouted out the podcast, the Mind the Game pod, it just shows how great of a mind he truly is. But it's just what worries me is that the same thing that happened to Darvin Ham. A first year head coach's job should not be the Los Angeles Lakers with all the pressure that they're going to get.
Right. Right. And I do believe he's a great-minded basketball person. But coaching in the NBA is a totally different task to where you have to balance grown men who are making millions of dollars. Okay.
Right.
That's not easy to manage. 100%. Right. You have to do that. You have to coach defense, offense, right? Where realistically, is JJ Redick the greatest defensive-minded coach? I don't know. Offensively, I could see him being one of the greatest offensively, minded coaches of all time, even better than Mike D'Antoni. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with me is the Lakers, the pressure, JJ Redick being the head coach. Stay with the media for right now. Get a lower tier head coaching job obviously he can't go with Charlotte anymore, but someplace of that nature. Get your feet in the water, then go ahead into the big market of LA or Chicago or New York or Boston, right? But obviously Joe Mazzulla is probably going to be there his whole career. But anyways, something of that nature.
Yeah, I agree. Ideally, the next best hire for me would be an experienced coach that has had experience in the NBA. And then maybe if JJ wants to be an assistant, I would gladly take that. It's just I don't want him as a head coach where he has so much responsibility on his shoulders. An assistant coach, I wouldn't mind that at all, especially with like an experienced head coach, hopefully, and then maybe Rajon Rondo as another assistant. Ideally, I think that could be a great spot to start for both JJ Redick and for the Lakers.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. But overall, right move for the Lakers and not the right move for the Suns, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But getting to better news for coaches, in the midst of rumors that Jason Kidd was going to be offered the job to the Lakers, the Mavericks went ahead and made that unable to happen with a multi-year extension with him. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you have Jason Kidd. I don't think he was ever going to take that job.
No, I don't think he'd ever I don't think he'd ever leave Dallas either.
Just because of the The way that the Mavs are playing now, he's got Luka Doncic. It's him and Luka are such a great fit because they are the exact type of player, right? For the most part, a guard that knows how to pass, a guard that can shoot, right? Their minds are in sync. Kyrie Irving's
Right.
there. Kyrie finally loves a coach that is coaching him pretty much. And then you have obviously everyone else there. You have a championship type team. I would give it another year. If they don't win it this year, one more year. Obviously, the Mavs can do it. So yeah, he's not going there. The one coach that's going to the Lakers. Let's be honest, Tyronn Lue, right? Tyronn Lue should be the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Go over, to Crypto Arena now instead of go into that new arena for the Clippers. Go to where a winning team in LA. Be LeBron's head coach once again to where you guys can win another championship.
Yeah, I agree. But the problem with that is the Clippers are wanting to and planning to sign him to a 5-year extension. And I think that they're doing that because they don't want him to go to Los Angeles where they would have to coach against him for 4 games and potentially a playoff series. They don't want that to happen. Even though he hasn't had great success at the Clippers, they don't want to lose him to another Western Conference rival.
Right.
So I don't think that will happen, but I think that is definitely the Lakers' best option is to somehow make that happen before the Clippers make the jump and offer him the contract. Like just say how much money are they offering you? We'll offer you double or something like that.
Right.
But to get back to Jason Kidd, I think this was definitely the right move. He's had great success with the Mavericks. Obviously, he brought them back to playoff relevancy and playoff success. And I think, as you said, Luka and him work well together, and Kyrie and him work well together. And yeah, he was never going to leave Dallas. I mean, look at the success they've had since he went there. They're 5th seed right now, 2nd round. They knocked out the Clippers. Like he was never going to leave there. He'd have more chance of success at Dallas than he would at Los Angeles, and he'd have more job security at Dallas than he would at Los Angeles as well.
100%.
But overall, definitely the right move for Jason Kidd and the Mavericks.
Yep.
And then moving on to the Hornets head coach position, they hired Charles Lee, which was the Celtics' lead assistant, to a 4-year deal. What's your thoughts on that hire?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. It really doesn't matter. It does not matter who you have as the head coach. If LaMelo Ball is not healthy like he has not been for the last couple of seasons, you are not winning anything.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's a good hire, sure, but the Hornets, let's be honest, are not going to be relevant for another 5 to 10 years, whether they have LaMelo Ball or not, because even if LaMelo Ball is healthy, they don't have enough help around LaMelo Ball. They're rebuilding in the rebuilding phase, and that's why this is a good hire, both for Charles Lee and for the Hornets, because they both don't have a lot of pressure on their hand right now. So Charles Lee can learn how to be a coach, and then when the time comes, hopefully he'll be able to coach them to a winning season eventually when the rebuild is over.
100%.
But yeah, LaMelo Ball first and foremost has to stay healthy. But obviously, as we know, that does not run very well in the Ball family. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, I'm assuming you agree with Wemby winning Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
Yeah. So we don't have to touch on that. I mean, that was decided, I'd say honestly halfway through the season that he was going to be Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Chet had a great year, but the year that Wembanyama had for a true rookie, I'm not saying Chet, he was a true rookie since he didn't play last year, but it was his 2nd year in the league. He still got experience last year, and just for Wembanyama to come in off the gun and do what he did, I think arguably it was the best rookie season I've seen since LeBron James in 2003.
Well, if you're going back that far, Carmelo Anthony had better numbers than anyone in the rookie class, okay? In 2003, Carmelo Anthony should have been the Rookie of the Year. No doubt about it. They just gave it to LeBron James because he's LeBron James. Okay.
Fair. Well,
True.
I'm just saying, generationally, I haven't seen a player like Wemby since LeBron came to the
Yes,
league.
yeah. I understand what you were coming from, but I just wanted to make that clear about the award itself. Should have went to Melo. But yes, generational type talent. We haven't seen anyone this different, anyone this dominant as a rookie since LeBron James. LeBron James was killing grown men as an 18-year-old, okay? But here's the thing with me. I'm gonna say it. Jaime. Okay? Since he's not here, Jaime. I
I
Jaime
mean,
should
yeah,
rookie.
should have won.
I'm just
I don't know
playing.
if he should have. I don't know if he should have won. Nick Saya says yeah, obviously Nick Saya would have said that he should have won, but I think he
I
should
love
have been. I think
I
he should have
love
got more votes.
this.
I think he should have got more votes, but
I
obviously, it's because Chet is Chet, and that's why he didn't get more votes.
100%. But I just love the concern in your voice when I said that. That was the best part about that. But no, yes, Victor Wembanyama should have won it. Chet had a great season. Wasn't better than Victor. He wasn't as consistent as Victor, and Victor
Right.
just did things we have never seen from a rookie before. That's why he won
Yeah.
it. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, 100%. There is an argument to be made that Wembanyama should have won
Should have.
Defensive Player of the Year, and Gio has been saying that for quite a while now, but it's because he's a rookie. Let's be honest. That's why he didn't win Defensive Player of the
Terrible.
Year. And
Terrible.
Rudy Gobert did. I think that's his fourth, and that is tying the NBA record, if I'm not mistaken. Gobert is a great defender. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of defenders out there that arguably had a better season than him, in my opinion. Wembanyama being one of them, and then obviously, as a Laker fan, I have to say Anthony Davis being another. Anthony Davis had the second most votes by a landslide in this running, and he wasn't even a finalist. I believe Adebayo had like 6 or 7 votes or something like that, and he was a finalist. I just don't understand that from the award committee.
Yeah, that's fine and all. It's one. So this is how I break it down. The T-Wolves were high seed, right? They're a great defensive team. That falls onto Rudy Gobert. San Antonio Spurs didn't even make the playoffs, didn't even make the play-in. That's why he didn't win it. Although he had sizable numbers, greater than Rudy Gobert in any statistic.
And
Sizable
Anthony
numbers,
Davis matter too.
but he was in the play-in. This is where it comes down to
Right.
team success.
Right.
But I personally don't think, unless it's the MVP, because the most valuable player of the league needs team success. If you're going based off of best defensive player, you look at the NFL, right? A
Yeah.
mediocre team, their best player, if they have the best numbers in the NFL, they're winning defensive player of the year.
Oh, 100%. Like Miles Garrett this year. They were the
Right.
1 seed in the playoffs, and he won the award, even though TJ Watt should have or Micah Parsons should have, and it's because
Right.
he was a higher seed than both of them.
Right, but here's the thing: when TJ won the award, we weren't even close to being a championship type team.
Right.
When Michael won it, you guys had talent, but you guys weren't a championship type team.
Well, Micah never won it. He's never won it.
He didn't win it like 2 years ago.
No, he's never won it. He's always been in the running, but he's always fallen short.
So, anyways, either way, whoever's won it really
Yeah.
isn't championship type team. I think that should go for the NBA as well. If you have the best numbers like Victor Wembanyama, this is a single player award accolade, right? This isn't a team based award like the MVP should be.
Right.
This is a single player, and if you have the greatest defensive stats, you should win the award.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Wemby had, honestly, he had the best defensive numbers in the league, and it's not because of his lack of team success. It's because he's a rookie, and I think that's
It
stupid.
shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It should be.
It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter what year you are in the league. All that matters is your defensive numbers, and he had the best defensive numbers by far in the league. And then Anthony Davis had better, not better defensive stats, but better defensive numbers than Gobert. Whenever Anthony Davis was off the floor, the Lakers couldn't guard anybody. And the Timberwolves are a great defensive team where they could guard without Gobert. And we saw that in game 2 against the Nuggets. They played
Right.
outstanding defense without Rudy Gobert. So Rudy Gobert isn't needed for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Davis and Victor Wembanyama are both needed for the San Antonio Spurs and Los Angeles
Right.
Lakers. Great defense. That is an argument in itself for them to win the award over Gobert.
Right. And I do believe every NBA accolade, except for the MVP, should be pretty black and white. Whoever has the best accolades should win the award no matter what. You look at Sixth Man of the Year, Malik Monk got snubbed because of why? Because he was the best Sixth Man of the Year. He had, most points, most assists, and what was it, steals like it was something crazy. He was leading in 3 or 4
Yeah.
statistics that mattered most.
He got snubbed because he was the 10th seed, let's be honest.
But if you have the greatest statistics in your category,
I'm not saying, it wasn't the right choice, but I'm saying that is why, because his team didn't perform.
That's what I'm saying. If any accolade that is not the MVP should be purely based off of based off of statistics. And if you have the greater statistics and the majority part of the field, it should be black and white. You win the award. There shouldn't be any discussion or dispute saying, "Oh, it should be Rudy Gobert for Defensive Player of the Year because the defensive team was better." No, it should be because Victor Wembanyama had more blocks per game, more deflections per game, more steals per game, more whatever per game, right?
Yeah, I mean, these awards are getting out of.
To go against that. There is no argument to go against Victor Wembanyama.
Not at all. I mean, I don't think there's an argument to go against Anthony Davis either. I mean, maybe that the Lakers weren't good, but like you just said, record shouldn't play a part. It should be defensive numbers, and that's it.
Right. But then you look at Anthony Davis and Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama still beat out Anthony Davis in his numbers.
Exactly. So overall, if we're being honest, it should have been Victor Wembanyama with Anthony Davis a close second. But
100%.
Like I don't. To me, I just don't understand how Anthony Davis had 250 votes and wasn't a finalist, and Bam Adebayo was a finalist and got like 15.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But for me, yeah, that's a separate argument in itself. But the overall argument of Defensive Player of the Year, it shouldn't have been Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, 100%. But we're not discrediting Rudy. I want to put that out there. He's a great defender, and we just don't believe that he deserved the award this year. The past few years, heck yeah, he's great. But this year specifically, there was better defenders out there.
100%. Now, since we're talking about accolades, let's go to the MVP. Okay.
Yeah, that's a controversy in itself.
We can break that down.
Dwight Howard, I wanted to read a tweet that he said because I think it breaks down what the MVP is to the NBA perfectly. Mm-hmm. He said, first off, I think it's still a lack of clarity of what MVP means, which I agree, and the way it's voted on. Is it the best player or the player who has the most value to his team's success? It still intrigues me that Kobe and even Shaq only have one MVP. Also, it's crazy that Bron doesn't have more MVPs than anyone else. He's probably the most snubbed. Lastly, D Wade, Carmelo, and the man on the NBA logo never winning it is crazy. I think that is all very true. And I think in the NBA, the MVP is who's the best player that gives the team the most success. And that's why Nikola Jokic won it once again.
Yes. And no. I think it's the narrative. Okay.
I think it also was because of the narrative where they gave it to Embiid last year and they're like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Jokic, here you go.
That's exactly the narrative I was talking about. The narrative being Embiid didn't deserve it. Embiid 100% did not deserve it last year, to where his numbers were not as great as Jokic's, but voters fatigue, Jokic didn't get it. Okay.
Right.
But then they felt bad because Jokic was the best player last year, but we'll give it to him this year, even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, right?
Bro, I mean, you put let's I think Shai averaged 35 and 5 or something like that. Right. And then Luka averaged 33, 9, and 9.
Right.
How is that not MVP? Like 33, 9, and 9. What else does he have to do?
Right. And you're telling me that's not MVP, and he only got like 6 votes too. He was third.
6 votes, bro. and let's be honest, I'm not trying to discredit Shea, but I've never really watched the Thunder closely until this series right here that I am watching right now in the Thunder and Mavericks. And I've noticed how much free throws that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander gets. Is he fouled? Sure. But at least half of his points come from the free throw line. That's not skill.
That's not skill. And two for me is look at now. This is the award that comes down to team performance and the roster that is constructed. Look at the
I
roster
don't.
for OKC. No, discredit to Shea, but that roster is
Oh
better,
my God. It's insane.
better talent wise than the Dallas Mavericks. Okay.
I mean, arguably the Denver Nuggets.
Yes, but I am still saying that the Dallas Mavericks roster is by far not lucky to be in this position, but you need Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic to perform at an all-time high in the first half and second half. Luka Doncic, he was averaging 20 points in the first half. Kyrie Irving, 20 points in the second half. You need those two guys to do that every half. You can't have someone else, carry the load one of the games.
Right. I mean, like we saw that in game one of the series, when Luka had 19 points and 1 of 8 from three, and the Mavericks got smoked. If Luka
Right,
has a bad game and Kyrie can't put up 40 like he did against the Clippers, then they're most definitely going to lose.
right.
And that's like you take Luka off this team,
Mhm.
they're not the seed. They're not even in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Right. Yep.
And that should be enough to get him the MVP. If you take Shea off the team, sure, the Thunder won't be as good, but they will be a playoff team solely because of the talent they have.
Right.
And then same thing goes for Jokic. Yeah, he's the best player in the NBA. And I'm not discrediting him, but the talent he has in Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, the list goes on. You take him off the team for a little bit, they'll hold afloat, and they won't win a championship, but they'll still be a playoff team.
Right.
Like I just don't understand what MVP means to the NBA because I
Mhm.
believe in 2008 it was when Kobe averaged 36, 5, and 5, and
Yeah.
Steve Nash, who averaged 18, 4, and 10, won the MVP. Like it's been going on for
Or
years now, and it just doesn't make sense.
2000, was it 2010? Whenever it was, LeBron James won the MVP. Wayne Wade averaged like 30 plus points. Like everything, every statistical number, just like Victor Wembanyama, was better than LeBron James. Wayne Wade was purely better that season than LeBron James and still didn't win it.
Right. I mean, like I I just don't understand what the NBA thinks the MVP award is. I think they think it's an individual award, which it is, don't get me wrong, but team success goes into it as well because you should look at it as I said, if you take this player off the team, where would they be? If you
But then,
take Luka off the team, they wouldn't be nearly as good as the Nuggets and the Thunder without Shea and Jokic.
if you say that it goes based off of team success too, though, or if you want it to be based off of team success, right? But if you're saying
Right.
it's purely based off, if you're saying it's purely based off of the player, then someone else should win it. Like Luka Doncic honestly could have won it last year, even though his team sucked. He could have won it last year,
Right.
even though his team sucked. James Harden could have won it a couple years ago too. Even though his team sucked one of these years, LeBron James could have won it. So I mean, like, yeah, these guys, you're basing it off of pure, player success. But on the other side of it, it's like
I mean,
give
if
us a
you're
cri-
basing it off, yeah, go Miss Cartier, yeah, go ahead.
give us a criteria that you want. Let us understand why you are giving him the MVP because right now it seems like it's purely based off of narratives.
100%. I mean, not only statistics wise, but team wise as well, team success wise,
Yeah.
because Shea was first in the West and he led that youngest team in the NBA to the first seed in the West. And then he knocked off the Denver Nuggets of the first seed, which they held for a majority of the
Right.
year. That should if you're going off team success, should be enough to give him the MVP, if not Luka.
100%.
So I think it is the NBA doesn't want us to know it, but it is more narrative based for sure than it should be.
Mhm.
And at this point, it should just be honestly just named the center award because it's been the centers for the past 4 years, whether they deserve it or not.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to see the right player be picked because it hasn't happened in an eternity, it feels like.
I mean, you could have honestly said before he got hurt, Ja Morant, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, he could have been the youngest MVP.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Rose won the MVP putting up similar numbers to him that year.
Right.
So he probably would have been the MVP, but he should
Narratives.
have been. Yeah, he
Narrative.
should have been, but he wouldn't have been because of the narratives.
Right.
But I don't know, bro. I think the award committee has a lot of work to do because they are making a lot of the wrong choices this year, in my opinion.
That's right.
But moving on to the last topic, which 3 more teams were eliminated, moving us into the second round of the NBA playoffs. So obviously the 76ers have had a super long process. I think it's
Yep.
time to break up the process. What do you think?
I say congratulations. You got rid of Harris.
Yeah, Tobias Harris has to go.
Finally, his
He said,
contract is up.
yeah, that was the worst contract ever. And he said last year the Philadelphia 76ers fans would trade me for a crumble cookie. Well, based off what you did in the playoffs, I would too.
Well, he scored 0 points, and you're paying him $40 million a year.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, let him go and let him go to a terrible team, which deserves him. And this might be controversial, but I think you got to build around Maxey instead of Embiid.
I agree. Kind of. One, because I still think not to build around Joel Embiid is crazy. But two, I understand why you want to do it. He's not, I want to say, a winning championship type of player to where he can carry a team to a championship.
Yeah, it's not mainly like it's his playoff success for sure, but for me, it's also his injury history. This man can't stay healthy. He
Right.
is worse. Anthony Davis gets a lot of flack for his injuries, but he's worse than Anthony Davis. And Kawhi Leonard is starting to become worse than Anthony Davis as well, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think that's the main reason you got to look forward to the future and not necessarily trade Embiid, but at least look at the idea of shipping him if it can get you a lot for the future.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not try to trade for a lot of draft capital? Get Maxey. I'm sure you can get a couple bigs. There's going to be some great drafts in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Oh,
like you've been saying for years now that the Lakers should be shopping Anthony Davis. I mean, the same situation could apply to the 76ers now with Embiid.
100%, and I will stay consistent. You hit it right on the nose that I've been saying Anthony Davis should go. These last couple of years, I said that because of his health and his past, and he's never healthy for the playoffs or this regular season to where you guys can have a championship type run. It's the same thing with Joel Embiid. He wasn't healthy in the playoffs this year. He hasn't been healthy. The times that he was healthy, he didn't show up in the playoffs to where they could win a championship. The closest they were to winning a championship was with the Beast of the East and Jimmy Butler. And it came down to a last second shot to where they probably were going to win the championship. If that shot didn't go down, they were winning the championship in 2019. You look,
Most likely.
yeah. But you look at what Joel Embiid is. You can get a lot for him. The previous MVP of the league. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy thought, but could definitely happen.
I mean, he is arguably a top 5 player in the NBA, and we've seen top 5 players in the NBA get traded for a lot. And I think Embiid could get traded for a lot more than what the others have gotten traded for if they do decide to go that route.
100%.
I think Maxey he is the future for them, in my opinion. Like he proved that he can perform in the playoffs, and Embiid once again obviously was unhealthy and didn't perform the way that they expect him to perform.
Right.
So it's just a thought. I don't think they will do it, but I think it's time to at least start thinking about it.
Right.
And then another thing I think the Clippers should start thinking about is moving on from Kawhi Leonard, another player who typically can't stay healthy in the regular season and especially in the playoffs, and that came back to bite them this year.
Yeah, I don't fully blame Kawhi Leonard. He played 72 games this year. I do blame the fact that he wasn't healthy in the playoffs, but realistically, it goes on to James Harden once again, to where first two games of the series he averaged 20 something points, and then he fell off a cliff once again. Look at
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook. He couldn't even average 10, 10, and 10 like he should be doing. He is Mr. Triple Double. He couldn't even do that.
Well,
Paul
I'm
George
sorry, but
didn't show up.
yeah, go ahead, keep going. I'll give my thoughts on Russ later. Keep going.
Paul George once again didn't show up. The only active player that showed up was Zubac. Okay,
I
Zubac
mean, well,
went crazy.
PG showed up here and there inconsistently. Let's put it that way.
He showed up when it was too late. He took, I think, maybe 1 3 in game 5, or like 2 3s, and that happened late in the third quarter, to where it was already a
Right.
20-point game.
Yeah.
So he just wasn't aggressive enough. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It definitely goes on James Harden and Paul George, but I think it goes more on Russell Westbrook because that's why the Clippers brought him in, was to make up for the loss of Kawhi Leonard if that ever happened. And I've been saying this for a while now, and you guys didn't agree with me. Russell Westbrook is out of his prime. I'm not going to say he's washed because he's not completely washed, but he is not the type of player that can change a team anymore, and that showed in the playoffs specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Russell Westbrook will ever be washed. Okay, one, because he will be in
Well,
that
he'll never
same.
be washed. Yeah, he'll never be washed because he gives 110% no matter what, whether his
His
shot's falling or
physical,
not.
his physical condition will never change. He will always be in his prime physical condition. Okay,
Right.
but
It's just
I don't want to say the skill wise, the talent wise, whatever you want to say. He's not making shots. He's not making the right decisions like he used to. I don't know what's going on. I think it could be a confidence thing on the court, but he will give you 110%. But sometimes you just gotta hang up. You gotta hang up the cape one, sometime.
yeah, I think he still thinks he's that type of player that can change a team, which he was like he was on OKC. But you're not OKC Russ anymore. You'll never be OKC Russ anymore. It's just you got to figure out what role you can play to help the team win right now.
Yep.
And unless he does that, they're not going to succeed. I think
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, they should look into moving on from Kawhi, like I said, but also if you want to build around James Harden instead of Russell Westbrook, I wouldn't be mad at that either, solely because of what Russ did in the playoffs.
I agree.
But we'll see what happens there. Obviously, they're going to try to keep Tyronn Lue. We'll see if the Lakers swoop in and take him from him or not. I think that is the right decision, solely because obviously you don't have your best player. It's going to be very hard to win in the playoffs. And Tyronn Lue has done an excellent job for the Clippers. It's just health has been the main reason why they haven't won it all like they want to.
Yep.
Then to wrap it up, another young team did get a first round playoff exit at the hands of Gio's Cavaliers. Sure, he's very happy about that. First time I believe the Cavaliers won a playoff series without LeBron James since 1993, correct?
That's right. 31 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. When I saw that stat, I was dumbfounded. Did not know it was that long. So definitely a sigh of relief from Gio over there.
Yes.
But for the Magic perspective, I don't think they have to do anything moving forward. I think they have a great foundation in hand. It's just lack of experience that caught them in the butt in Game 7 specifically.
100%. Now they understand what kind of condition they have to be in the playoffs, because you look at France, he was just done. Okay. In game 7, I don't think his body could take it. He went 1 for 15. He just didn't have his legs underneath him. I think that next year he's going to be better conditioned. He's going to prove himself, and he's going to show why he is a great young talent.
Yeah,
Paolo, same thing. Paolo didn't have his legs game 7. So they are going to get better. Jalen Suggs going to get better. Markel Fultz, right? Wendell Carter. You look at the team they have. You add a Klay Thompson. You add Klay. You will be not a championship, but you could make some noise in the playoffs
it
because
could
you
be.
add that champion with you and your team.
Yeah, 100%. It could be if they add Clay and that leadership. It could be similar to when they had Dwight Howard and no one expected them to make the finals, yet they did.
Right.
And I'm not saying they'll make the finals, but they could make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, similar to the way the Atlanta Hawks did a few years ago.
Right. So I hear you're comparing Paolo with Shaq.
Oh, whoa! I never said that, but let's calm down.
Is that what
But
I'm about?
no, I'm just saying if they make the right, I don't think they have to make
Yeah.
money moves specifically, but if they make the right roster tweaks here and there,
Right.
they aren't far away from a deep playoff run.
I think you can build a team around Paolo and Franz, Suggs, Fultz, Carter, as long as you get a couple great veteran pieces, like, obviously Minnesota got Mike Conley, right?
Right.
Something of that nature, you can go deep in the playoffs.
100%. And even if Clay's shot isn't falling, he'll be that type of guy to get in the young players' ears like, hey, this is what you have to do in order to win, etc.
Right.
And that would be huge for them because the only veteran they had on that team was Joe Ingles. And let's be honest, Joe Ingles is great, but he hasn't won anything in the league either. So he didn't know what to say to them.
That's right.
So I think they have to get a veteran first and foremost. But if they do that, they could definitely get to the second round next year and potentially the Eastern Conference Finals as well.
Right.
But weren't they up 18 in that game 7 as well?
They were in the second quarter. The Cavs were, I
So
think, plus 1,000 in the second quarter. Didn't put any
yeah,
money on that, unfortunately. But hey, good thing that the Cavs won that game. But it was purely based off of experience. That's why they won.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And I also think that it goes back to the inexperienced part, but the Magic were like, oh, we're up 18, we got this game in the bag, took their foot off the gas pedal and let Donovan Mitchell get going. And once that happened, the game was over.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, I think, has the most. He's tied with the most points in a closeout game.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the amount of little help he got in that uh, back the last 2 games of that series specifically, and then obviously game 1 of this Celtics series. So 3 games in a row is crazy to me. I mean, if they do want to somehow pull off a miracle and force the Celtics to a game 6 or game 7 or potentially beat them in games and 6 or
Mhm.
7, they're going to need Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Karis LeVert and Max Strus to play the way they played the day instead of the way they played in game 1.
Right.
But overall, though, Magic don't do anything crazy. You got the right foundation in hand, and your future is very bright.
Yep.
But you got a segment for us over there?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to shout out. They already came out, but Nike released the Nike Cortezes in the beautiful red, or in the red, blue, and white colorway. The original colorway that you saw in Back to the Future and Forrest Gump. This pair specifically gave you that new cushion, that new kind of Nike technology in a classic Cortez in the Forrest Gump colorways. And, really, I think they're a very slept on shoe. Go ahead and get your pair if you still can. They're very cheap right now. But I do believe this is a great looking shoe, great, well made shoe, especially for the type of materials that they use.
Yeah, definitely have to check that out. I'm gonna go a different route once again of video games. Not much going on in the video game world, so I'm gonna end. I hate to end on a sad note, but it does have to be said that former Laker Darius Morris did pass away. So I just want to say rest in peace to him and prayers up to his family as well.
That's right.
And thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, thanks, guys. If you guys want to know where Nick Say is, go ahead in the comment section. I'm sure he's down there somewhere. If you guys like the podcast, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And make sure, like two wise men once said, subscribe. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Peace.